everyone, and welcome to another night of the Weekly Show, the best place to find out about events that took place in history with our exclusive interviews with the one and only Susan B. Anthony, and a couple of everyday citizens' thoughts on the women's suffrage from the 1800s to the 1920s. First up, we have Rosie the Riveter. Hello! Thanks for being here. It's a pleasure to meet you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, let's get started with the first question. Do you feel that women should have the right to vote?
Well, of course, I believe all women should have the same exact rights as men.
Why do you think that people opposed to the idea don't want women to have the same rights?
I believe that is because women never really took part in our government and stood up for what they believe in. So when they speak out, it will go against tradition and it would draw more attention to the idea.
How do you consider your right to vote as a woman?
Women are just as capable as men. Women were not able to vote before. Now it's acceptable for women to vote. It suggests that women are equal as men.
Thanks for coming and answering our questions.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Now, let's welcome our next guest, Andrea.
Hello.
So, what is your view on the women's right to vote?
I would describe it as being simply unnecessary, and I personally believe that women were destined to be childbearers and housemakers, and leave all the political stuff to the men.
Of course, men thought this was a great philosophy. Leave the little women at home while they made all the important business and political decisions.
And I agree. My husband provides for our children, and I with all we need, so I am more than happy as a stay-at-home mother.
What do you think about women in general? Do you think they value their rights to vote?
I think it depends on the person and their beliefs. Some women value that right very dearly, while others couldn't care less whether or not they vote.
Thank you, Andrea. And finally, our last guest, Susan B. Anthony.
I love you, Susan!
First question, what are your thoughts on women's rights to vote?
I think women have just as much of a right to vote as men.
Why do you think people are opposed to the idea of women's rights?
I think they don't want women to be equal and they just want men to have the right to vote.
In this day and age, do you think women value their right to vote?
I believe they do value it, but they just don't think that women will ever be allowed to vote.
Well, that's all the questions we have for you. Thanks for joining us.
You're very welcome.
Let's welcome our guest from today's show. Well, that's all, folks. Make sure to tune in next week to the Weekly Show.
But they just don't think that women couldn't use to vote, and they...
So, oh my God.
Okay, did I miss a page?